Hey everyone, welcome back. I guess we're live. So I'm here today with Sargon of Akkad, and we thought we'd talk a little bit about this exchange that you, Sargon, had with Dave Cullen over at Computer Forever
Sure.
about politics in general. And we're not here to shit on Dave. I love the guy, and oh, hold on, I got my audio coming up here. Sorry about that. Yeah, so we're not here to shit on Dave. Love the guy. I'm going to leave a link in the description. He does great content. So if you expected drama, this is the wrong stream.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I just got really inspired by the exchange, even though it didn't end the way it should, or you hijacked his stream.
I'm
But
so sorry.
yeah, well, fuck it. But yeah, I was inspired because there's never any talk about real political concrete applications. So I thought, why is that? It's just there's plenty of people talking about their buzzwords, and sometimes they talk a little identity politics, but not real politics. So yeah, I thought we'd go through some of the points from that video. I guess,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. I mean, before we start, I just want to stress that I like Dave's channel a lot. You
Oh
know,
yeah.
I like his tech videos. I find them very informative, and I'm not a tech guy, so if I've got nothing else to listen to, after I've listened to the anti-SJW stuff, I'll go through his tech stuff because it's interesting. You know, and he does a good job, and he's very good with the anti-SJW stuff. I thought that the what was the paper he found about the kids being raised in childcare. I thought that was an amazing discovery, and I thought he did an absolutely fabulous job on that video. You know,
Oh
it
yeah.
was so informative, and it's so right. That is something to remember. You know, that is a genuine gem. You know, because
Exactly.
all its content's good, but that was just truly heads above, because that's so useful for so many people to just add to their worldview and go, okay, yeah, no, that is a thing. You know,
Hmm.
like these sort of data nodes or something.
Yeah, and he makes it really
Yeah,
interesting to
yeah.
listen to, and he's got good points and everything. So yeah,
So it's not, and I've got absolutely no personal animus against him or anything like that. I was just surprised at his reaction, because I mean, obviously I'd gone in like a dick or something, but I just thought I was hanging out with friends, you know. So I just, and no one said anything at the time, so I didn't.
yeah, yeah.
I
So
didn't think about it.
so let's just try to make something positive out of this, and see if we could just discuss some politics without throwing around buzzwords, and just trying to be a little bit more realist. And I thought it
Yeah.
would be interesting because obviously you're on the left side and Dave Cullen is on the right side, and
Mhm.
I'm kind of in the middle of you two, slightly to the right, sort of thing.
Mm.
So I guess I would consider myself right wing, but not as far as Dave. I've
Mm.
been disillusioned by fucking politics so much, so I've just they're going crazy on the sides, so it's
Yeah.
kind of irritating.
Do you know what I think it is? I think everyone's determined to stand on principle, and
Yeah,
and don't get me wrong, that is a noble thing to want to do, but it's also unrealistic to want to stand on every principle. I
yeah,
think what you really have to do is choose the ones that you genuinely won't compromise on, and accept that you're going to have to compromise on others.
yeah, yeah,
You
yeah,
know, that's
yeah,
that's uh, that's for like actual realistic change that will actually, improve the world in the way that you want. You're probably going to have to understand that you don't get everything you want, and
yeah.
I
That's the
don't think
nature of.
anyone's prepared to compromise. You know, I mean, I was reading through the comments on the chat I had with that guy T and Nicholas Garoff last night,
Mhm.
and it was really enlightening, because I it's so helpful that people explain to you exactly what they believe. I mean, what okay, so what I was saying is basically, look, the people on the fringes, the very hardcore sort of ideologues who believe in this, without reason. They do it for emotional benefits. They
Right.
don't do it because necessarily they were reasoned into it. They're true believers. You
Yeah.
you can't reason them out of their position without something fairly catastrophic happening to them, like for an SJW being the target of an SJW hate mob or something like that on Twitter. They have to experience the negative consequences firsthand for them to change their mind. If they're not, then they're not going to, and you can't persuade them out of it.
No,
But
it's
it's the
kind of
people.
religious.
Yeah, well, kind of, yeah, it is. It becomes articles of faith, and there's no point trying to deconvert those people. Really, it's a waste of time. It's unlikely that you're going to do it. and it's something they've really got to come to on their own. But the vast mass of people are not on the fringes, and do not want necessarily what the people on the fringes want. They want something that might be similar, or they might have the same concerns, and it probably is that nobody else is addressing them.
Yeah, yeah,
And I think that, because the comment that I'm referring to was I was trying to say, look, if there are literally hundreds of thousands of people, like in the UK, we've got Jeremy Corbyn, the communists rising the left. Hundreds of thousands of people are supporting that because they can see the wealth inequality. They can see the corporate exploitation of the economy. They can see that the people at the bottom aren't able to get ahead. The game is rigged against them, and they're having a hard time getting on. And they see the newspaper articles say, well, class mobility is low, an all-time low. And I don't know where Dave's getting this information. I showed the Pew data in the video I did, where they were saying that, look, the people at the very far ends of the spectrum are growing in number very rapidly. So the very poor and the very rich are growing in number. The middle class is shrinking because of this, just natural tendency to shift to the sides. And I mean, if that's not true, I'm happy to see whatever data, whatever information, whatever rebuttal he has to demonstrate that the Pew data isn't true. But I mean, normally the Pew data is really spot on. Right. So I don't have any way of proving it wrong if it is wrong. I don't know.
So let's say, just for the sake of argument, that it's true. What actions would you propose that are realistic?
Well, just before we go into that, I guess. My concern was the comment was, if you give anything to the Marxists, then they win. And I'm just like, look, they are people who, they're citizens in your country. They deserve to have themselves represented in government. B, I'm not trying to give them anything. I'm trying to give the people who need something and is only being offered by the Marxists. And we can offer the same thing in a way that isn't Marxist, that doesn't have an equal outcome, that has an equal opportunity. Because I don't think we have an equal opportunity. I think that the system is rigged. I think it's gone too far. It needs reform, and I don't want a Trotskyist revolution.
Do you see that as a real possibility?
No, I don't think it's really going to happen. But the thing is, 10 years ago, nobody thought Britain would vote for leaving the EU. So,
but isn't that just on a side note? Isn't that interesting though? Because as far as I understand, before it was the left that wanted to leave, and then it sort of shifted.
Well, right? they abandoned the working class. That was what it was.
Okay.
The left became more, because they became more and more populated with middle class virtue signalers who have absolutely nothing to gain from becoming Marxists. But they apart from the fact they go, oh well, this is emotionally gratifying. But it must be the right thing.
That must mean that they actually understand that it's just not going to happen. So it is just virtue signaling.
Yeah, I genuinely think for a lot of them it is, and it's amazing how the working class are voting Conservative these days. I mean, that is
kind of strange. Yeah.
Ass backwards, isn't it? You would think they wouldn't be, but the thing is, the working class, they're not infirm. They can, they work hard, and they do get ahead in life. Thomas Sowell had a great thing on it, whereas look, people do rise from the bottom to the upper 10% in the course of their lives, because your financial situation isn't static. But the thing is that the sort of that is becoming more difficult, and the gap is getting wider, and less people are managing that, and that's the problem.
Yeah. I mean, it is. It's really weird that I guess the Labour Party has totally abandoned everything that has to do with class. Being sort of right wing, I don't really like to use that word, but let's use it. Now they're just interested in gender and in race and all that shit.
Absolutely. And Owen Smith is a Guardian columnist, and he's very popular. He's got 500,000 Twitter followers. He is a decent left-wing intellectual. He genuinely is, and he's a young guy as well. So he's genuinely surprising, and he's not blind. He's not an ideologue. He's not just blind to the issues that face the left and everyone else practically. But I mean, he is biased, but he's not blind. And he is. I mean, he recently wrote an article in the Guardian saying, "Look, we need a return to sort of the sort of class politics. I mean, it is identity in a way, but it is also grounded in a tangible reality. You know, there's a reason that class politics are important, is because the people at the bottom are genuinely poor, and being poor is difficult. You know, being rich. I mean, you know, I've gone without food in my life because I've been unemployed and I simply couldn't afford it. And now I don't go without food, and I can see the difference. You know.
Yeah, it's obviously always rich people that say that money don't matter. So.
Yeah, exactly. It matters a lot if you don't have it, and when you don't have it, all you think about is getting it. You know, and you think about it in the you don't think creatively, you don't think outside the box. You're not like, right, you know, I'm going to start a business, because you need money to start a business. You know, you're worried about paying your rent, you're worried about feeding yourself. You're not starting any businesses. You're barely getting by. You know, and it is a luxury to be able to say, you know, I'm going to start a business.
How much does it cost to do that anyhow in the UK?
In the UK, a few years ago, I went on the Alliance in Leicester, which is a bank, business startup calculator, because I wanted to demonstrate for a video that even if I mean the government has spent millions like fake plastering fake shops over a high street because they're all shutting down because they don't compete, and it costs somewhere between like £12,000 and £15,000 to set up a bookstore.
Right.
On this calculator, but the bookstore wouldn't be profitable because people would go to, you know, a mall, a giant mega mall thing, where they can sell books at half the fucking price or whatever it is, and the small businesses just can't outcompete on these things. You know, the sort of the market has absorbed the ability for people to really edge their way in, and it's okay, you know, and you think, okay, well, innovation, but there's only so much innovation you can practically do. You know, most people aren't that innovative, so it's kind of, and so I went through and, like, you know, it's about 12 grand. Man, 12 grand to someone who is working on minimum wage is an unbelievable amount of money they will never see in their lifetime. So and the bank is unlikely to lend loads of money to someone who is on a temporary contract.
But are you talking about the cost of actually getting the store, or are you talking about the fee to register it?
Oh no, that includes all of it. That includes.
Okay.
So yeah, the fee to register is, I think it's only about £165 at Company's House, something like that.
Right.
You know, it's not that much, but it's the stock, the rent, the, you know, any sort of administration costs and all sort of stuff. The Alliance and Leicester calculator came out at 12 grand. Now, I don't know how accurate it is. You know, it was a couple of years ago, so I you know,
I would probably guess it's more expensive than that, but
yeah, I probably would, but I mean, you know, let's just go with that as the base number.
That sort of assumes that you'd make profit from day one, because you need a buffer to do that.
Yeah, it does. But let's just assume, say, okay, 15 grand, right?
Right.
How the hell is someone working like on the minimum wage ever going to afford that after they've paid their rent, their food, and any, you know, electricity bills and stuff like that? It's going to take them forever to save up 12 grand, you know, or 15 grand.
For sure. But that could be couldn't that be like a concrete thing that the government could do? They could institute some sort of lending policy for starting up businesses.
Yeah, I totally think they should. I absolutely think they should. I mean, to be honest with you, I was thinking about this the other day. You know, I wonder what the effect would be if the government were, if literally every person was entitled to a £50,000 loan from the government. Just in general. Just, okay, you can borrow whenever you like in your life. A one-time thing, you can borrow 50 grand from the government. You have to pay it back. It's, you know, it can be taken out of your wage packets the same as tax. In the UK, it's not like in America where you guys have to do your taxes every year. We have a PAYE, pay-as-you-earn system, where basically the company you're working for is responsible for paying your tax.
Right.
But they take it out of your wages, obviously. So it basically means you don't have to bother doing it. It's really convenient. And I tell you what, it's the one thing I miss from being employed by someone else. It's the one thing. I fucking hate doing my taxes.
Yeah, and, everyone does.
Yeah, I mean, it could literally be like, you know, every, you know, and I don't know, over 25 years, you're not paying very much a year, are you? You know, so you're paying £2 grand a year. So it literally, when you break it down to the month, it's actually not very much to pay back over the course of your life, you know. But it could, a 50 grand loan could really get people off the ground. You know, it could really, you know. And obviously, and I know the economists go, God, you know nothing about the economy. It's like, yeah, I know.
But what would be the positive effects to giving it to just everyone?
Well, I mean, you're always going to have a certain number of people who fuck it up.
Yeah,
there's, you know, that's a given. And the thing is, right, I'm not even bothered if people are like, you know what, I'm going to go on a round the world cruise. I don't care. Who cares? You know, you're going to pay it back, so you go on that round the world cruise if you want. You know, but you're going to get a lot of people who are going to be like, you know, I'm going to try and set up a business, or I'm going to get myself educated. I'm going to, you know, I'm going to do something to secure my own future. And I think that's the sort of thing that we need to incentivize.
I just sort of think about myself there, and I would have probably taken that loan out on my 18th birthday or something and just blown it.
Well, I mean, I personally, if I was setting this up, I'd probably have it at 25 or something that you could do this. I wouldn't have it so a teenager could take out a 50 grand loan, because I'm thinking of myself at 18 as well. And you know, you can't expect a teen. You want them to have a few years of work experience under their belt before they get this loan, so at least they have some conception of what the real world's like. But I mean, it's just an idea, you know. I'm not like, you know, I know that someone's going to come out and go, "My God, this makes you a fascist" or something. You know, Sargonomics 2.0 is, you know, a Marxist fascist ideology that's going to exterminate the human race or something. It's like, okay, well, look, I haven't. This isn't a fully fleshed out economic theory. I'm just shooting out an idea and seeing what happens. You know,
that should be made clear throughout the stream that we're no experts, and we're just talking shit here about politics.
Yeah.
So
we're not the most ill-informed people, and we can see what the problems of the system are. I mean, everyone can see what the problems of the system are. That's why so many people are joining these sort of radical, and these people genuinely think they're engaged in a revolution.
Yeah, that's sad.
Well, it's scary. I mean, and they're growing in power. They're growing in power, you know. And this is what I mean. It's like, look, right this second, no, there aren't communists storming through the Houses of Parliament or anything, but you don't know what's going to happen in 10 years' time. You know, things radicalize quickly. You know, no one saw Donald Trump coming. Again, 5 years ago, would you think that the traditional conservative Republican Party would have been smashed?
No, it is kind of weird in that sense. No one could see him coming personally. I mean,
exactly.
Christ, but
you know, I don't think you can rest on your laurels and say, no, it'll never happen, because good God, man, we're seeing things that nobody thought would ever happen. So, you know what I'm saying, right?
Yeah. It's interesting, and obviously we didn't expect to have a black president just before that. And then I remember seeing those movies with Morgan Freeman when he was the president. I was like, yeah, probably when I'm 70 or something, that'll be happening. But then it just happened a couple of years later. So that was interesting progress, I think. And I wasn't expecting that at all. But anyway, so like with ISIS and stuff like that, we didn't expect that to sort of go totally radical and take over.
I don't think people were expecting, like, you know, when the other week when we had a terrorist attack a day in Europe.
Oh, really?
That much? We had like 5 consecutive days with terrorist attacks. I mean, they weren't big scale, but they were still happening. People were still dying or being injured.
How much terrorist attacks did you have during all that stuff with the IRA and that stuff? Do you remember?
You know, I'd have to go and check, but I really don't think it was that much. I think it was, you know, infrequent but serious when it happened.
Yeah.
Whereas these are less serious but frequent.
You know? Yeah, people they obviously they don't care if they live or die, so they just go out and do some shit.
Exactly. The Irish actually wanted to win. They
wanted to live.
And the IRA,
that's a difference.
Honestly, give me the IRA any fucking day of the week. I always forgiven Terry Adams. Sorry, I'm joking. Jesus.
No, but that's true. But anyway, I think the loan thing, it's a good thing, but I don't agree that it should be given to everyone just for going on a cruise.
Yeah, you know what I mean. I mean, just, you know, obviously, you know, there has to be a lot more thought put into it. I'm putting into it right this second. But, you know, I think that there should be, because it's just got to the point where a lot of people just don't have the opportunity to be able to get themselves ahead. And I think that a lot of people who are sort of more libertarian leaning aren't in that position and don't really understand the constraints on these people. And I'm not suggesting that that's any kind of immoral thing or anything like that. You know, you know, this isn't a moral judgment. It's just, I think, a fact of life. You
Right,
know?
right. So, what about this? What do they call it? The citizens' payment or salary or some shit
Oh,
like that?
you mean, what, like a negative income tax or something like that? Are we talking?
Yeah, exactly. What do you think about that?
Well, I think eventually it might become a necessity.
Right. I was really surprised the first time I heard about that it's actually a right wing suggestion.
Yeah, it was it Milton Friedman who suggested it?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, I think yeah. I think I'm sure someone was like, "Oh, this person suggested by Milton Friedman." I actually do need to read some Milton Friedman, but I'm just too bogged down with other things at the moment. Um,
Right.
but yeah, I mean, I'm not against it. I'm not in principle. I'm not against it. Okay, well, but it's not going to stop people from working. I mean, just who here would be happy with only getting like £1,000 a month or like £800 or say $1,000 a month?
No, that's
That's
true.
not
That's
enough
true.
to live on,
And
but
and
at
when
least
I
you're not going to starve.
when I first heard about it, I was like instinctively against it. Like,
Yeah,
holy fuck,
yeah,
that's
communism.
communism.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
exactly.
No, I'm with you,
But
man. I'm with
then
you.
then they actually ran the numbers, and it turned out that that would actually pay off. It would be much cheaper than having the social welfare system and all of the huge bureaucracies and shit.
Well,
Um,
that's the thing, isn't it? People forget how many people are employed just to make the decisions for the poorest people in society.
right.
And you could just. I mean, in I think in Britain, the expenditure on the welfare state, I looked up a while ago, it was something like 1.39 billion, and I'd looked up the information on the living wage, the negative income tax, and it was something like twice the number. It's something about 3 billion or something like that. And okay, that is an increase, but then you have more people with more money to put more into the economy on, like, sales taxes and things like this.
Right.
It's
Yeah, because the government makes money no matter what you do. So,
exactly, so it might be in everyone's best interest. Again, I'm not an economist. I don't know. I might be wrong, but with the way people are being put out of business these days, it's like, well, I mean, eventually you're going to have to do something, especially when it comes to the automation of industry, and not only that, the automation of like fast food restaurants and things like this. It's like, Jesus,
yeah, I mean,
where are the teenagers going to go?
everything is getting automated in a way that we didn't expect. That is
Yeah,
surprising. I mean, I didn't dream in a million years that there would be fucking Uber taxis that have no drivers. That's
incredible, isn't it?
I figured, yeah, taxi driver. That's probably something you could be safe in for the rest of your life. But nope,
Exactly. I
they're
mean,
taking over everything.
yeah, I mean, the world is genuinely changing, and I think a lot of people think that they don't have to change their minds with it, and I think they do. And the thing is, this is something I want to stress, is that I'm not necessarily happy with any of these changes.
No, no,
These aren't necessarily things that I would want to do in an ideal world, but we don't live in an ideal world. We live in a world that's changing around us, and we have to adapt to fit it or be left by the wayside. And so, okay, let's adapt. And this is why I'm like, look, let's. The first thing I want to do is just prevent radical ideologies from gaining any significant political power, and the way to do that is to starve them of their support. Because most people, when faced with, overthrowing democracy to implement communist fucking utopia, or tax breaks for poorest people, extra taxes for rich people, they're going to choose the one that doesn't ruin the system.
yeah, yeah,
And that would easily starve them. All you have to do is you have to be able to say, look, this is a genuine issue for these people, and this is another thing. Everyone has a point. Everyone has a point. Every single side is arguing for something that is in some way legitimate, apart from
right.
maybe the SJWs and white supremacy. Yeah. That, I mean, don't get me wrong. They are, I think, in a lot of ways, they are actually categorically wrong. But that doesn't mean there aren't problems that need to be solved. If you want to solve the problem of black crime, that's not a Black Lives Matter issue you're addressing. That's a black crime issue.
Yeah.
Black Lives Matter want to do that, but I also want to solve black crime. I also want to solve, extreme wealth inequality and stuff like this. I don't want them to be the same. I don't want all of these things to, necessarily be communist or anything like this. But these are problems, which is why these ideologies are appealing.
Right, that's also ties back together with that virtue signaling, that they're not really interested in discussing the actual things you could do. They just want to throw out buzzwords and feel good about themselves. So
Yeah, I think it's
that doesn't
easy.
get anything done.
it's easy to boil down your opponent's entire argument to one word, and then say, "I don't agree with this word." You know.
Yeah.
And again, it's not meant to be a judgment. Everyone does this. I do this. You do this. I'm sure we all do this. You know.
Sure.
But it's. I think we should be honest that it's happening. You know, it's not an accusation.
No. It's that's the way it is, and it's part of human nature, and that's fine. Yeah. But if you actually want to make the world better, and not just watch the world burn, then you probably have to be a little bit more realistic and try to come up with some actual things you can do, and not just some ideologies that's nebulous and.
Not even that. Some ideology that's extremely rigid and inflexible that people simply won't accept because, too many of the ideas are things they don't particularly agree with, even if they agree with some of them. And this is what I was saying about like people like standing on all of their principles all of the time. It's like, well, okay, you're insanely principled. Well done. And the SJWs have just put trigger warnings and safe spaces in primary schools. Now. Right. Okay, you stood on your principles. That's great, mate. Well done. Fucking round of applause. Now your kids are being indoctrinated to think that being a transgender child is a good idea. Well done.
That's horrible.
Well done. You stood on your principles. You stood on your principles. Nothing happened other than the fact that the next generation is getting absolutely ruined because you refuse to compromise at all. And it's just like, man, we've got to start fucking pushing back.
Yeah, I wonder what will happen to that generation when they grow up.
I actually dread to think, man.
Yeah. I think
the suicide rate is going to go straight up.
Oh, yeah. Fucking hell, the suicide rate. Jesus Christ, that's going to be a headache.
They already are for trans people. It's just going to get worse. And it's just... And then the suicide rate for,
how can it be legal to give kids the drugs and everything?
Mate, it blows my mind. If an adult wants to do it, that's fine. They're an adult. They're making an informed decision. They're children. They do not know what they're doing. They're being led down a path that is going to have like massive ramifications for the rest of their life before they've reached the age of majority.
It's unbelievable. I mean, fucking hell. These people say, these kids say that, I'm a girl, right? Fucking hell. When I was that age or whatever they are, 10 or something, I wanted to be called fucking Darth Vader.
Yeah, dude, I was Optimus Prime. You know what I mean? Yeah. I was Transformer. But I didn't want to get surgery.
I was trans Star Wars.
Fucking exactly, but I probably would have got surgery if it had been allowed.
I seriously told my dad that I wanted to change my name to Darth.
That is awesome. That is really awesome.
Holy shit.
But that's the thing. Kids don't know what they're doing. They just don't know. They aren't in a position to make these kind of decisions. And I don't think adults should treat them as if they are in a position to do these kind of things. And I'm saying this as a parent, There is it's irresponsible. It's an abdication of your responsibility as a parent to allow a child to make decisions for their entire future when they aren't in an informed position. It's an abdication.
What's wrong with the fucking parents? Like, just put your fucking foot down.
Yeah, just say no. You can deal with it, and when you leave my house, it's your choice.
Yeah,
that's it.
When you're, 18 or 21, where the age is, you can do whatever the fuck you want.
Exactly. You make all of your mistakes as an adult.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's got to the point where people, I think, the dividing lines have been really drawn very starkly, and now we're seeing the points of contention. And I mean, don't worry, it's okay to have points of contention. It's okay to disagree. It's fine. It's obviously natural.
That's great.
Yeah, it's
interesting.
Yeah, it's genuinely healthy. But too often, and do you know what I'm sick of the word? I'm sick of the word just. I'm sick of it. I hear it
in a sense of
all the time.
Justice, or
no, just the word just.
Okay.
He's just a this. She's just a that. It's like, no, fuck. No one is just an anything. Okay? Like, for example, if I were to sit down with someone I hated, I would love to sit down with Christy Winters sometime and go, Christy, say something good about me. Tell me something. Espouse one of my virtues. I could espouse Christy. Like, say, Christy, you're a doctor. That's an amazing achievement. Right. So few people in the general population work long and hard enough and are dedicated enough to go through the system, do the slog, the legwork, the hard work, to eventually become a doctor.
Right.
I can tell you virtues about Christy Winters, but I don't think that she would be able to do it, and it's because she's so in a sort of cult-like partisan way, where it's just a this. It's just that everything's a point-scoring exercise. And don't worry, I know I'm guilty of these things as well, and this is what
Sure.
everyone is. But I think it's come to the point where we need to get, okay, right, there are a lot of things that we individually all agree on, a lot of individual issues that we're like, yeah, this is an issue for multiple different ideological groups for different reasons, but it's still the same issue that they all want to see solved, at least in some way. We need to stop worrying about defeating someone's entire ideological position and focus on what individual things can we do. That I genuinely think that is the way forward.
Yeah, obviously.
And this is what Gamergate taught me. It was like, look, when Gamergate was going on in the beginning, it was thrilling. I had no idea what these people believed, but we were all agreed these SJW fucks, they're wrong and they need to go. Everyone was in complete agreement about that. Because it was the single issue thing. As soon as Gamergate sort of started winning and gaining ground and becoming like this evil boogeyman, and people started getting established, then it became demarking their own territory and like staking out, right, this, and then people, no, I've got a point of issue on that, and then the arguments would start.
Right.
And
yeah, I guess maybe that's what's been going on a little bit on YouTube, with all these different people attacking each other for the sake of attacking each other, creating drama and all that.
Yeah. People, and I don't blame people. It's completely natural to do this, just for your own sort of mental defenses, to say, no, I know why I think this, and it's good to understand why they think that. I mean, you don't have to agree, but understanding your opponent's position is the most. Honestly, you can't have a realistic view of the world if you don't know why they think what they actually think.
Sure. But I was more talking about the real drama when people are just going after each other, just for the sake of going after each other. You're an idiot because of this and that. They're not really addressing a point. They just hate that person, and then they start all the dramas.
Yeah. I'd say go watch Keemstar. He's got like 1 million bloody subscribers or something. I'm like, are they literally just watching people? It's like watching a soap opera. Are they literally just watching?
Maybe that's the appeal, though. I guess.
Okay, if there's a market, go ahead.
Yeah, sure. I mean, I don't want to ban it or anything. It's just I'm kind of bored with it.
Yeah, exactly. I think it's something that probably people go through in phases at some point. Just
right. So, speaking of contention, let's talk about a point where I didn't agree with you on your talk there with Dave, and that was you had this thing where you wanted to limit the salary of a CEO to 25 times the amount of the worker. Remember that?
Well, no, it was just, a method of preventing CEOs from extracting huge amounts of money from corporations under which they might employ thousands of people at very low wages.
Right.
I'm more than happy to listen to any other kind of suggestion that might have that end result. But I think corporate reform is necessary.
Yeah, there needs to be something, but I think that was a very bad choice.
Okay, I'm happy to listen.
Because obviously, I think they missed bringing up some points when they defended or opposed you there. Mm-hmm. They basically talked about he works so much more, and he's got he's the one that makes the decision. I don't remember exactly what their point was, but what they missed was that he's taken the risk. He's the one that stands to lose everything and be in debt for the rest of his life, and be unemployable.
I don't think it's actually as bad as that sounds. I mean, for example, with a limited company in the UK, if the company goes under, you're not in debt for the rest of your life.
Right, but you could have put everything in. You could have taken out mortgages
you could bankrupt yourself. You could use your private assets, like you could put your house up as collateral or something.
Yeah, exactly.
But I mean, if for example you've taken out, you own a limited, you're the director of a limited company, you've taken out a loan, the company takes out the loan, and the assets that you've bought for the company, when you can't pay the loan, the company gets the ownership of the company transfers to whoever you owe the money to, and I presume is auctioned off or whatever. But
right. Yeah.
So yeah,
Okay. So
you could lose everything. Sure.
probably okay. So probably you wouldn't get a huge debt, but yeah, you'd lose everything,
Yeah.
and that is a huge deal. And then there's another thing that I thought of, and that is that as soon as you get like super rich and famous and all that, you can probably expect to have like several lawsuits every year for the rest of your life. People, suing you for just fucking coming in and cleaning your house. They're going to sue you for
Welcome to
something.
Donald Trump's world, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
So it probably cost a lot of money to be rich as well, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, I'm sure it can do. I'm sure it can cost a lot of money simply to have a lot of money in certain cases. I mean, it doesn't have to be like 25. I mean, this is why I was proposing a wealth gap. I mean, I am proposing an inequality, by saying that no more than X amount of times. I mean, that's 25 times someone else's wage. It's still a hell of a lot of money,
Well, it is, but it's not that much.
No, okay, and maybe it could be more. Maybe the variable could change. But I mean,
I still think that that is a very important incentive to be able to create something, and you own that, and that's your thing. You should be able to take out whatever salary you think the company can bear, because you're the boss.
Sure, I agree. But I think
if we had to do something, I would much rather have higher corporate tax or something, just a percentage.
Oh my God, the libertarians are going to come down on you like a ton of bricks.
Yeah, well, I don't really fit into any sort of bracket for.
Yeah.
I'm
so
not
you want
really,
the state to take their money at gunpoint, do you, dude?
Yeah, but I'm kind of a realist. I understand that we have certain things in the government that we need to pay for.
I'm more than happy for that to be. I don't really mind, but the thing is, I can see engendering a lot of resentment.
Yeah.
Because the thing is, people forget about the sort of the social aspect of what this kind of method would do. Because all I'm proposing are rules for corporations, really. And corporations already operate within a system of rules. And at the moment, the rule is you have to pay people at least this, and of course you're going to be incentivized to, employ people higher up the ladder with more money. But you're going to do the minimum you can get away with for a good reason. But but the thing is, I'm not too worried about the people in the middle because they're doing okay. I'm more worried about the people who are at the bottom who aren't doing okay, and the people at the top who are doing really okay. More okay than I think is sustainable. That's my issue, because I mean, just choose a revolution throughout history, and it's always comes through poverty. You've got too many poor people, and frankly, too many extremely wealthy people, and the poor people then hang the wealthy people.
Right.
Because it's economic warfare. They've been fucked their whole lives. They've got nothing to lose. If they've got nothing to lose, then why wouldn't they sign up for the communist revolution? I'd do it. Fuck them. Fuck the rich. If I had spent my whole life struggling for money, and then some rich cunt goes along, you know what? I deserve what I've got, and you deserve to be poor. Fuck off. I'm going to hang that motherfucker in a second. I can totally understand why these things happen. I genuinely can. I think people who are like, oh, that's terrible. No, dude, just be empathetic. Just look at it from someone else's point of view. You might not have. I don't agree with hanging people, but I can see why they do it. They feel pushed to it. They've got nothing left to lose. They can't get out of the hole they're in.
I can understand why they do it, like you say. I obviously don't agree with it, but
obviously, and I want to avoid it at all costs, frankly, because very little good comes of it in the short term.
I just think that particular thing wouldn't solve anything, because it's the CEO, the salary of the CEO. It doesn't really matter to a big corporation. Like if they pay Tim Cook $1 million or $10 million, it doesn't matter to the fucking $500 billion they make a year. It has no effect on that budget, so it wouldn't really solve anything. And it's not a lot of money for the government either. There's not that many super rich CEOs they can grab the salary from.
I'm more than happy to say, look, this might be a bad solution or something like that, but at least we can agree on the problem. And I think that's the issue. It's not, like I said, I'm not an economist, but it's getting people to understand that I think there genuinely is a problem, and I think it's getting worse and not better. And I think the worse it gets, the more likely we are to some sort of catastrophic political change, for the worse. You know, that's
Yeah,
going to affect.
that is something that we have to avoid.
Yeah,
Because,
and I think we've got to be realistic about I mean, these things happen. For some reason, people think they're outside of the cycles of history, and then we're not. We're not at all. It's unrealistic.
no, it's like when they talked about the end of history and all that. Remember that? Remember that?
Yeah, it's the most arrogant thing I've ever heard. It's like, no,
Yeah.
there is no end of history.
Now that is really stupid.
Yeah.
So obviously, shit can happen, and there could be some crazy motherfucker who takes power, and they could try to actually instigate some sort of dictatorship. So yeah,
it doesn't even have to necessarily be instigating a dictatorship. It could just simply be like victimizing certain groups in society. You know, I mean, like Jeremy Corbyn, for example, he would start probably really crushing the super wealthy. And I'm not suggesting these people need to be crushed. You know, I don't think it's immoral to have money. You know, I don't think it's immoral to have worked your way up to wealth.
right.
But we have to accept that the system isn't immune to
And there has to be something to aspire to.
Exactly. You know, and I genuinely want people who work their asses off to enjoy the fruits of their labor. But
Right.
we've come to a position where a lot of people aren't genuinely working their asses off. I mean, Bill Gates, honestly, I don't think he's ever actually genuinely worked his ass off. I mean, he bought MS-DOS. He got lucky by, getting IBM to package it with his computers. And there we are. Bill Gates isn't a hard-working businessman. You know, he's a savvy businessman. He's incredibly clever. He made great deals, but he's not what the libertarians are picturing of some guy who goes down and opens his shop every day and then employs a new staff because he's had, great turnover. He opens a second store. My God, look how great this guy's doing. He's improving the community. He's employing people. He's enriching himself. He's paying more tax. This guy is he would be the perfect embodiment of the capitalist ideal, and I totally support it. But that's not the system we live in. We live in a system where you can make extremely savvy deals and benefit disproportionately from them.
Right.
You know, Bill Gates earns more an hour than like the average person earns in like a month, and it's probably even more than that. It's probably a ridiculous amount, and it's ridiculous. He doesn't nearly do the work required to justify that kind of money.
Yeah, but that brings us into another point that you had in the video there, the worth or the value of labor. You talked about a janitor. He wasn't worth more than a certain amount or whatever. Well, and then you said, why is the CEO worth more in terms of value? Remember that?
Yeah. I mean, what I was trying to say is, like, if we're actually looking at like someone's labor, and I understand that the value of the labor is determined by the market, but I don't think this is just a free market working as intended. You know,
okay.
I think there are too many loopholes, too many ways of getting around having to do genuine actual work.
Okay, but it's not that the CEO is not working.
No, of course not. No, of course not. And this is why I'm like, 25 times or 50 times or however much, he should earn the most. Sure, he takes all the risks. He came up with the idea. He took the initiative, and they, of course, do work very hard. And they don't do the same work. They do things like, networking and all this sort of stuff. But, it's the ability to do certain things that I think is the problem. I guess I'd have to go and flesh it out a bit further. This is just kind of off the cuff, and I know I'm going to get crucified for another off the cuff comment. Yeah.
Well, we'll probably be crucified, both of us. So.
Yeah, we probably will.
Whatever. But I just
I'll try and think of it and maybe put my thoughts together in a video or something.
I just thought that was one of those other things where I didn't agree with you, because
that's all right.
I didn't think that there is you can put a worth on it, because it's determined, like you say, by the market, and I guess you have a problem with that.
The market isn't just no, I don't have a problem with that. I think it should happen, but I mean, do you know what? It drives me nuts when I hear libertarians going, "Oh, heck this, heck that," and then they argue against market regulations. It's like, well, okay, what he was in favor of market regulations as long as they were universal regulations.
Mhm.
You know, as long as everyone has to play by the same rules, he was fine with it. And this is the thing. I mean, look at all the corporate loopholes, tax loopholes, and all this sort of stuff. People like Jimmy Carr, comedians, using these to pay fuck all tax. I mean,
Yeah.
it wasn't the working man that lobbied to get these things in place. You know,
Now, the loopholes, that's a bad thing. I mean,
yeah, exactly.
if there are going to be rules, they should be universal, like you say. It should
Exactly.
apply to everyone in the same way. And yeah, loophole, that kind of destroys the whole point of it.
Exactly, and they don't. And I mean, like, I really despise like 0-hour contracts as well. It's like, wow, the corporations will hire less people. It's like, that's true, they will. But at the moment, these are exploitative contracts. You know, these put the most vulnerable, lowest class workers in precarious positions where they don't know whether they're going to have a job next week. They're not in a position to make long-term plans. It's exploitative.
Right, right. It's kind of like, remember, what the hell was his name? The president of the Federal Reserve a couple of years ago, probably more than a couple. He was really extreme. I think he was under Reagan or something. That he helped deregulize a lot of the market. He said that he didn't even believe in regulations against fraud. I thought, now you're going a bridge too far.
Yeah, that's way too far for me. I mean, like, yeah, this. I can never understand the libertarian sort of argument. Well, we need the government to not have any interaction with business. Like, well, how do you prevent corruption?
Yeah, that is something that you need to be on top of, because obviously that's the root of the entire like banking crash and the Ponzi schemes that we had in the early 2000s.
Yep.
There needs to be someone to look out for that, because if it just pays off and there's no punishment for that, then fucking everyone would do that.
Yeah. Anyone who could do that would do that, and then the people who couldn't do that would just suffer the consequences.
Yeah.
And you know that then again, you're just setting the stage for the pitchforks to come and the people who did that to get their heads chopped off. And any collateral damage, well, there we go. It's a fucking revolution.
Right, right.
So, you know, I would just rather institute a system that's slightly more fair, but still rewards hard work. That minimizes corruption and exploitation.
Exactly, but I do believe that the goal should be to have as little interaction with the government as possible.
Yeah,
and
sure.
I don't really care for all this stuff where they just set up arbitrary rules for shit they shouldn't even care about.
Yeah, totally. I mean, drugs, for example. I despise regulation, like not regulation, but like laws against drug use. I mean, you've got, and this is where I say, look, I do have genuinely so many sympathies with libertarians, and I think the principles that they are standing on are good principles in general. You know, right. Principles of non-interaction and personal freedom. Totally agree. And so, like, exactly. I don't think the government has the right to tell me what drugs I can and cannot do. It's none of their business. It's, they're not in any way any more educated on this than I am or anyone else is. They're doing it often arbitrarily for point scoring, voting to get votes from out of other people's fears that their kids are going to take drugs or something, which they're going to do anyway because then you get to the pragmatist argument. Prohibition just doesn't fucking work.
Right. No, I agree. I agree. It's people have no right to tell someone else what they're going to put into their own body. Yeah. I agree with that. It's just stupid, and it's costing us so much fucking money to do all this policing.
It creates a criminal underclass of drug dealers and people who aren't following the law anyway, and they make their money by not following the law. So they're not incentivized to follow other laws for fear of losing their livelihood if they break one. Yeah. If they break 5 laws, it doesn't matter because they're not going to lose their job. That job was illegal to start with,
It's kind of like teach men not to rape. Yeah,
exactly. Teach gangbangers not to shoot people. Well, why would they? Well, if they someone, they don't fucking lose their jobs. If they in fact probably end up making more money because they just took over someone's turf.
Right.
And then you have, like, I watched Peter Hitchens and Majid Nawaz, and Hitchens is like, no, cannabis should be illegal, blah blah. It's like, no, it shouldn't. It's just that you have got like emotional arguments to suggest this, but they're just. No good comes of it. It costs a lot of money. It criminalizes people who otherwise aren't committing a crime or doing anything wrong, and it creates a criminal underclass. And it doesn't bloody work. So
Yeah.
it's a waste of time and effort, and it just creates more problems than it solves. And then you get then everyone will come out and be a drug addict. Really, would you? Who listening is going to go out and start shooting heroin tomorrow? No one. Come on.
No, no. I mean,
and so yeah, like I say, they're definitely. You want the government to have as minimal interaction with the average citizen as possible. To be the minimum burden on the citizen. I agree, but that doesn't mean there isn't a job for government. Because the government isn't necessarily separate from the people, especially in a democracy. You're meant to be politically engaged as a citizen in a democracy. You should know who your MP is. You should write to them fairly regularly just to let them know what you fucking think. You should be taking advantage of your representatives, and the people who are the ones actually getting the change they want, and the people who aren't, which is almost everyone else, are getting screwed. And it's like, well, if we were engaged, we would probably get more of one.
There is a big problem that they're making politics so fucking boring.
I was talking to Janet Bloomfield on a stream ages ago now, but she made the point. She was like, look, at least Donald Trump is getting people paying attention to politics.
Right. That's what he does.
He's making it entertaining to get involved.
Right. Yeah. That's why he's even there.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's not that he has any concrete solutions to anything. I mean, he hasn't said anything about anything except building a wall. But at least he's fun.
I actually looked at his website the other day because someone was like, "Look, have you actually been to his website and gone through his policies?" And I should do a video on it because honestly, a lot of them they look pretty good. I'm not gonna lie. A lot of his policies actually look genuine.
Oh, they are.
Good.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, they're not
really that. I haven't really.
Exactly. Nobody really thinks about it. A lot of them genuinely are not bad policies, and I would not be disappointed if they were put into practice in my country. A lot of them, but people get hung up on the ban all Muslims, build a wall, and stuff like this, and because they're, he's going out and he's played the media game perfectly. He spent fuck all on advertising himself, and just got the mainstream media to do it for him, and I reckon he's probably going to win. I think the silent majority will come out in favor of him if he just stops being a complete knob. If he wins a couple of debates against Hillary, which he will do, he's going to smash her. What is she going to say about the emails? What is she going to say?
Yeah, that'll be interesting.
Oh my god, I can't wait. I can't wait for Hillary just to get absolutely bent over and buggered by Trump on stage. He's just going to be like, he's going to destroy it.
Yeah, I certainly hope so. I don't want to see Hillary.
Yeah, tell me about it, man. I would vote for literally anyone over Hillary, I think. Yeah. Adolf Hitler's running for president of the United States. Well, if it was Hitler, Stalin, and Hillary, I'd be like, I think I'd probably go with Hitler.
I can see the hate mail coming now.
That's all right.
But that would be fucking. No, I would hate for that to happen. Holy shit.
Yeah. But that's the thing. Donald Trump is not as bad as people think. He's extremely nationalist, and in some ways he is a bit proto-fascist.
But when did nationalist turn into a bad word?
Well, that's the thing, isn't it? He's not going to be given unlimited power, and he's undoubtedly going to have the House and the Senate against him. They're probably going to be against him. So I think that the worst excessive of anything he wanted to do that was genuinely bad would probably be mitigated.
Yeah, if he wouldn't get Congress with him, and that's that.
Exactly. I don't think he's going to be marching brown shirts into the Congress House or anything. So
no, that is just a total straw man from the left.
Yeah,
he's never said anything like that. I don't understand why they say he's literally Hitler.
No, and then you get people from the left committing violence against his supporters, and it seems to be mostly people from the left committing violence against his supporters, and there's been an assassination attempt on his life, and all of this sort of thing. It's like, man, Donald Trump is, in my opinion, the victim of the political violence of the left. And so when they're like, Trump's going to cause, he's going to lead to the deaths of people, it's like, Hillary already has, and there have already been attempts on him. You have literally no higher ground to stand on here.
No, yeah, that's true. And yeah, I really hate the fact that she could just swing like that, from being anti-gay to pro-gay and all that stuff. It's like, Do you have no principle? I mean, we talked about having too much principles, but I guess you have none.
Yeah, I mean, I guess.
I guess we shouldn't be surprised.
No, she's just trying to enrich herself, isn't she? I mean, I'm saying just. She's probably got more motivations than just trying to enrich herself. But I mean, it seems to be very much the primary goal to attain power and influence. I mean, maybe she's just been gunning for the presidency for ever since she saw Bill getting a blowjob in it. She's thinking, right, I'm getting my own blowjob in there. You know, this will pay back against Bill or something, maybe.
Yeah, get the cigars ready. Jesus Christ. No, but I guess she's probably motivated more by power than by money, because she'd probably get more money somewhere else.
Yeah, I think
they don't
maybe,
pay the president that well, but
yeah,
they get power.
I mean, the Clinton Foundation gets hundreds of millions in donations from various foreign governments. So, I mean, money, obviously money is a factor, but yeah, but the thing is, people never just go for power for the sake of having power. They go for power for the sake of achieving a goal of theirs, you know. I mean, but Hillary doesn't seem to have any actual goals.
Exactly. That's
Trump,
a strange thing.
It drives me crazy when people are like, Trump doesn't have any principles. It's like, yes, he does. Jesus Christ, he's a hardcore nationalist.
Right.
You know, his whole slogan is "Make America Great Again." That's his principle. You know,
right.
That's him telling you that's exactly what he wants, and he's been consistent on this. If you watch the interviews with him from the 80s, he's been totally consistent on this point for 30 fucking years.
Right.
And it's just he has principles. They're just not the same as your principles. You know, he knows exactly what he wants, and he knows how he's going to get it. I mean, I don't know whether it's going to work or anything, but at least he knows what he's going to do. Whereas with Hillary, I mean, what does she even want?
Yeah,
you know,
that is weird.
What is she arguing for? You know, I'm arguing for Hillary to be president. Why? Because I'm Hillary and I'd like to be the president.
That's kind of like Obama when he had change. We can do it and all that. Do what?
Yeah, exactly. He didn't actually tell us what the change was going to be, and it turns out it's just not really much change, and it didn't get any better.
No, it's just more of the same. And I guess she figured, well, if it worked for him, it's going to work for me, or something.
And you know what drives me crazy about your presidential elections is how old your candidates are.
Are they that much younger in the UK?
Hillary's 68. Donald Trump is 70. Right. Our Prime Minister David Cameron, I think he was about 50.
Right.
And so, and I genuinely think I watch the interviews and debates, and honestly, I wonder how much of their idiosyncrasies just comes from the fact they're almost retired, or they should be retired. They would be retired in this country. They should be sitting on a front porch somewhere, knitting or drinking brandy or something like that, complaining that there are kids on their lawn, you know. But instead, they're standing there yelling stupid things at large numbers of people. And I'm just like, okay, there has surely got to be someone who at least isn't in danger of falling over and breaking their hip that we could elect to be the president, the leader of the free world, right? I mean,
get off my fucking lawn.
Exactly. Well, no matter which one wins, someone's getting off their fucking lawn. So it's like, what? Come on. And this. You see Trump, and like in interviews, in some occasions, he's genuinely brilliant. I watched an interview with him with CNN, and the guy from CNN's like, yeah, but Bernie's going to stand on principle. And Trump's like, look, it's okay to compromise. It's okay to compromise. He seemed genuinely taken aback that the interviewer didn't seem to think that was an acceptable position. And I totally agree with him on that. And then in other interviews, when he's being pressed on issues that he's not really that bothered on, he just completely flip-flops. He's just like, yeah, well, this, that, the other, whatever you want to hear. I literally don't care about this issue. So I'm just going to tell you whatever you want to hear, regardless of if I said the exact opposite yesterday. You know, he doesn't care, because that's not one of the things he's standing on. And so it just seems like an old man bumbling along when he does this, you know. And Hillary is exactly the same, but she's a bit Machiavellian about it. But she seems to be, and I mean, the Hillary's health thing, there genuinely seems to be something wrong with Hillary, doesn't there? You know?
Yeah, I don't know how much truth there is to it, but it certainly seems so.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know anything about it, but like other than the propaganda I've seen from the alt-right. But I mean, I don't think it's necessarily an illegitimate point. I mean, is she going to last like 4 to 8 years as the leader of the free world? I mean, you see how it ages people. You know, bro, oh God, it looks like a curse, doesn't it, to be president of the US?
Yeah, Obama certainly looks a lot older.
Oh my god, he's aged terribly.
Yeah.
This is the thing. It was Obama. I think late 40s is a good age for the
How
leader
old
of the
is
country.
Kennedy? He was like that, or wasn't he early 40s?
Yeah. Oh, I love it. Someone on Twitter is there's this guy called Mr. Rico who's he's a communist.
Okay.
Sorry, he calls himself a democratic socialist. But Sargon of Moscow and stuff. And this guy's like, anyone who calls Sargon a Marxist is a moron. He's clearly on the right. But redistribute that wealth, Rico.
Well,
Come on.
everything is relative, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
It's like,
So,
yeah, of course, you're to them, you're a fucking right-wing extremist, and to me, you're on the left, and yeah, it's all fucking relative.
yeah. Yeah. No. It is relative to your own political position, isn't it?
Yeah, but they really, really do think you're far to the right, don't they?
They genuinely do. They genuinely do. And it's because I'm in favor of personal agency. That's why. The left doesn't believe in human agency, and the right doesn't believe in systems.
Right.
And they both exist.
Yeah.
Frankly, they both exist. So
They do.
yeah.
Fucking deal with it. That's true. Yeah, but if you're truly a Marxist, then yeah, you can't really argue with these people.
Yeah. But yeah, is there anything else you wanted to go over? Anything else that we can get ourselves hanged for after this?
Well, let's think. Was there any other interesting points in that video? I can't remember any more points right now. Can you?
Yeah, just have a think. Yeah, I think the it was the follow-up video that I finally got some real insight into what Dave was trying to say.
Mm-hmm.
And he thinks it sounded like he thought that because I could see like this Marxist thing coming on the horizon, that I was in favor of it. And I just want to stress I'm obviously not in favor of this, and this is why.
That's good to hear.
yeah. The fascist one, not so worried about because I'm not Jewish, but oh shit, sorry.
Right.
I'll call back. Yeah, but it sounded like he thought that I was in favor of Marxism because I could see this coming, and I'm not. I'm in favor of cutting the legs out from under the Marxists. There are genuine problems that people do need genuinely to have addressed, and if we don't present them, sorry.
Turn the fucking phone off. All right, so I guess he had to take the call or something. So how you doing, chat? Let's see here. Oh,
yeah, sorry.
Nice and cancerous. Sorry.
Yeah. Sorry about that. Chat, if you're not cancerous, I'm going to be disappointed in you. Listen. Have you all decided to hand over your personal wealth to the state? That's all I'm saying. It's just you don't have to do much. You just have to let the state own everything you have, and then everything will be just fine. Nothing will go wrong.
Right. That's the Sargon point of view, and my point of view is you have to hand over everything to me.
You're the Vladimir Putin of this conversation.
Exactly.
Basically, these people are gaining strength from the fact that there are lots and lots of people who do have legitimate issues, and we can just address these issues in a way that isn't Marxist, and it isn't about equalizing things.
Right.
It's not about making sure everyone has the same. It's about making sure the people at the bottom aren't getting fucked, and I think there is definitely a difference there.
Okay, well, of course, and it's about making sure that everyone has the opportunity, whether they use it or not. That's another story.
Exactly. If they don't use it, then that's their fault. It's up to them. And the thing is even if they don't use it, right, at some point in their life, they will. I think if they have the opportunity at some point in their life, they'll grow tired of being impoverished. They'll be like, okay, you know what? I'm not like the brightest person in the world or something like that. I'm not like, I don't have connections stuff. But if I just do something, I can at least get a bit further ahead than where I was. And if people can slowly gain ground, that's way better than them not being able to really get anywhere. Even if they're not getting very far, at least that's something, and they get to improve their own situation. Right. But if there are a lot of people, I don't think they've really genuinely been at the bottom, man. And it can be really shit, that man. And it really can feel like a trap. And I can totally understand the appeal of radical ideologies. I really can.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, sure. I've been poor as well in my life. I
And
understand.
you think, well, fuck it. It doesn't hurt me if these people do the thing that they're advocating for, you know. And so, why wouldn't you support that? What's preventing you? You know,
Mhm.
especially if you feel aggrieved.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I understand them. I never went that way when I was poor. I sort of, I guess the system worked for me because I did see the appeal of working hard and trying to better my life and
Yeah,
aspire and all that stuff. But I guess for some people that is never going to work, I guess.
yeah. No, it, you know, I've always been the sort of. I mean, my dad was a conservative, and he always, you know, been a conservative his whole life, and so his philosophy was, no one's going to give you it for free. You go out and fucking make it happen, and I've always had that. But then I've always been left wing, you know, and not necessarily in reaction to my dad, because it's not I don't agree with him on a lot of points.
Hmm.
It's just that I think that it's his father who really drilled it really hard into him that, you know, not necessarily libertarian, but a bit more sort of traditional conservative, as in, you know, you're only entitled to this, and you don't consider the context around. Whereas I think the context also matters, you
Right.
know.
But
And but
you don't think it was a rebellious thing against your
no,
father?
no, not at all. Because I mean, I talked to my dad, and we agree on a lot of things. You know, and I think I've never really had to rebel against my dad because I've always had a really good relationship with him. So
That's good.
I've rebelled against authority in general, but that's because at heart I'm a fucking ANCAP or something. But but you know, I'm not against hierarchy. I'm not against power. I just think it has to be justified. Um, and you know,
Right.
I think there are legitimate ways of justifying authority.
Right.
And you know, if something can be legitimized, then fine. I'm happy to abide by it. But I mean, with like social justice and identity politics, none of that's legitimized. None of it. It's
Oh yeah.
I deserve this because I'm black. I deserve this because I'm a woman. It's like, no, these are not good reasons for you to deserve anything. You know?
Yeah, that's all they do. It's
Yeah,
like they
that's
just.
all
I
identity
mean, that
politics
is
is.
real entitlement when we're
Yeah,
talking
it
about
genuinely is.
those guys. I mean, it's just entitlement. I mean, you obviously saw the video I just uploaded a couple hours ago.
Yeah, I did. Yeah, it was man. It's hilarious. It's
Oh,
hilarious. Seriously, just I was honestly, when you were laughing, like I was just cackling. Like
yeah, I
just
know.
the way she was desperately trying to fabricate this issue. You're sexually harassing me. It's like, no, he's not. No, he's not. No one around you believes he is. Just stop it and go away.
That is pure entitlement.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ. The best part was, of course, that at the end, she's like, it was you.
Yeah, exactly. She points to another guy. Yeah, no, you sexually. No, nobody did. He wasn't even in the room. Yeah,
Holy shit.
lunatics.
I
You know,
can't believe that people like that exist.
I can't believe they're beating us.
Yeah,
That's what I can't believe.
that's fucking scary.
Isn't it just? They're actually winning because they're not afraid to go to the people who can actually make the changes and nag them to make the changes. That's
Yeah.
what it is.
Yeah.
And
And if they're going to be that aggressive, people are going to be like, oh, fuck, I'll do whatever you want. Just shut up.
exactly. No, they genuinely will. And not just that, they see it as a way of getting votes. You know, if
Right.
50,000 feminists present a petition, like, or a feminist presents a petition with 50,000 feminist signatures saying, ban Doom from Target. Target, I'm like, well, shit, that's a lot of people. We better do as they say, or at least we'd better take it into consideration.
Right.
Whereas if there are hundreds of thousands of people who care about, say, the free speech issue, but they never actually tell the people who matter, and we just let the people who we're against slander us to those people, then how can we ever expect them to take our position seriously or to even care about what we have to say?
Yeah, that is a problem. I mean, those petitions, they're probably, I mean, they don't have any restrictions of what country you're from or anything. It could
Huh.
be fucking 50 people, Chinese people who
Yeah.
are doing this shit. Who knows?
Yeah, and they don't know and they don't care and they just think, ooh, you know, popular opinion. Politicians go with popular opinion to get votes.
Yeah, that's kind of in their job description there.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you know, they've got no choice. It's directly incentivized to care about popular opinion. So literally, all we need to do. I mean, this is Gamergate's raison d'etre was email. Just sit down and write an email and send it to someone. And if 1,000 people do that, send it to a company, an email to a company. This company's like, well, shit, we're pulling $1 million worth of funding from Gawker. It genuinely had an impact, And the SJWs do this with politicians. These politicians are also supposed to represent us as well. So we should have no compunction by saying, like, you know what, if we get like 1,000 of us to write to like a British MP or something, you can, or an American politician or whatever, it becomes a legitimate issue to the politician. Their perception of it is that there are a lot of people who say that. And someone's just tweeted me saying, "Stop saying so excessively." I know, I'm just like Cenk, man. You know what I mean? Sorry.
Right.
Yeah, wrong. No. I do know I do, and I do try to stop it. I'm sorry.
Right. Anyway, so that's an interesting point. I don't think a lot of people do that. I've certainly never written to a congressman or anything. But we should consider doing that.
Yeah, and there's nothing wrong with organizing to do it.
No,
of course. There's nothing wrong with organizing to do this. So, like, if someone created like a Facebook or a Twitter thing, so right, okay, on like a thunderclap, if we're going to do like a hashtag free speech for politicians or something, I don't know, whatever, thousands of people sign up to this, we probably get a trending hashtag, and when we see the hashtag trending, everyone just opens up their email, finds, Googles their local politician, and then emails them. And literally, they will receive thousands of politicians will receive tens of thousands of emails all in one day about a single issue. My God, that's going to bring around. I mean, this is almost what's happened to the alt-right and Hillary. It's because it's become something they have been paying attention to, because the alt-right have latched onto Trump and made themselves political. That they've suddenly Hillary is, demonizing them in a stupid speech. We could be demonized by Hillary in a stupid speech. These free speech radicals who want to be able to say whatever they want on the internet.
That should be everyone's goal in life, to be demonized by Hillary, for fuck's sake.
Exactly. Demonized by Hillary in a presidential campaign. That is a crown of achievement from the alt-right, man. Good for you guys. Good for you. You genuinely got something done there. Yeah.
Fucking hell. No, that's a good point. So how does it work, Thunderclap? I've never used that.
Basically, it's a thing you sign up with. I use Twitter. I think you can use other social media networks, but I just do it with Twitter. And everyone signs up with this particular campaign, and the campaign's set to go off on one date. And so a particular date and time, the Thunderclap program or website, you allow access to your Twitter for this one thing, and basically it posts a tweet on everyone's Twitter all at the same time with the same hashtag or whatever, obviously to increase the volume and the reach of the message. And if you can get a few thousand people doing it, it's quite easy to get a trending hashtag if you want to,
Oh, that's interesting.
And so
that would certainly be worth doing, something universal that applies to all Western countries, like free speech.
Yeah, I mean, it's stuff that it shouldn't be controversial to want.
No,
it absolutely shouldn't be controversial.
I cannot believe that is controversial. I mean,
yeah, exactly.
That used to be like the one founding principle for all Western countries: freedom of speech. I mean, how can you have a democracy without it? It doesn't work.
Exactly. You can't have a free society without people being able to speak their minds without censure. Without I mean, I'm tired of people losing their jobs over things they've said on social media. I'm tired of people going to prison for something stupid they've said on social media. It's just it's awful. It's
Orwellian.
Awful. It's Orwellian. It genuinely is Orwellian, and it's like, no, just that's terrible. I mean, this is something that we should probably do something about, to try and force a dialogue.
Yeah, because you've actually had some people go to prison in the UK now, right? For Twitter stuff or something.
Sorry, say again, mate.
You have literally have people go to prison in the UK.
Oh yeah,
for Twitter
dozens,
stuff.
Dozens of people for things they've posted on Twitter and Facebook that aren't even, and in Germany as well. Oh my God, like we did a stream with a guy who got his door kicked in because of a meme he posted on a private Facebook group, and he was rough-handled and punched by the cops, and and all this sort of stuff because of a meme.
What the fuck kind of meme was that? Jesus Christ. So it was just a stupid meme.
Yeah, it was just a stupid. It wasn't even particularly racist. It was just kind of, a naked woman doing a Nazi salute. I mean, it's political, but it's also, it's just titillating. It wasn't. It wasn't anything that anyone should have paid any attention to.
Right, right. It's just they have their thing with Nazism, obviously.
Yeah, they do, which is why they've done
But
it. But it was still silly.
yeah. That is extremely silly, and I even remember seeing your prince in a Nazi uniform.
Yeah, that was it. As a Halloween costume. Just Prince Harry.
That was him, right?
Yeah, I thought it was hilarious. Everyone was freaking out about it. And I'm like, dude, it's shit posting. Stop it. It's a joke.
Yeah.
He's obviously not actually a Nazi. You
Literally
morons.
a Nazi.
You went to a Halloween costume in a Nazi suit. We think you might have Nazi sympathies.
These people.
Absurd.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, so basically, I'm concerned that people have this kind of learned helplessness. Well, they're seeing the SJWs change the world around them, and now they're seeing the alt-right change the world around them, and they're thinking, well, shit, I can't do anything. So you can, you just have to want to, and all it takes is like 10 minutes, write an email. That's it. Seriously, it's such a small deal, Right. I mean, you don't even have to say very much. So look, right, I'm a citizen in the state, or you're my MP locally or whatever, and I'm genuinely concerned about free speech issues. I would like you to raise them in Parliament or the local assembly or whatever it is, however your country works. And that's my opinion as a voter. Thank you very much. And if they get 1,000 people doing that, 10,000 people doing that, it's gonna create an impression in the politicians' minds. And if that happens to a couple of politicians, I mean, they sit there like in the British Parliament. There's a bar that's in the British Parliament. They all go and socialise in afterwards. So if they're sat around having beers and someone's like, "Fuck no, I've received 1,000 emails today about man spreading," then someone else can be, I received 500 emails about man spreading. It's the sort of thing that gets them talking, gets the idea in their heads. They're not robots, they're people, and they've got to be treated like it. We've got to think, well, psychologically, we can not manipulate them, but we can influence them.
Yeah.
Put their ideas in their head.
Yeah, so it would be more effective if people wrote their own letters, then I guess, not have a pre-formatted letter.
Yeah, don't have a pre-formatted letter.
Yeah, because you'll probably get caught as spam or something.
Exactly, or they're just going to think, oh, it's a bot or something like that.
Yeah.
They're going to think, oh, this is automated. But yeah, if it's just individuals just writing 10 minutes, write a letter, email it, done. That will end up enacting change. I'm sure of it.
Yeah, well, we should definitely think about some issue we could do that with. Well, I mean, free speech is pretty obvious. But we should actually do something.
Yeah, I honestly, I think the free speech thing is the best one to go for, because there's no argument against. The argument against is, yeah, but my mentions. There's not a fucking mentions. I don't care about your mentions. I don't care about what you don't like hearing. Most people don't. I mean, like Theresa May doesn't complain about sexist tweets. Our new prime minister doesn't complain about sexist tweets because she's actually not an open bigot.
Right.
She doesn't go, what, men's issues, fuck men's issues. If that's being a bigot, that's being an open bigot, being proud of your bigotry. And unsurprisingly, that people react badly to that. If you can believe it, people are actually pissed off when you're a bigot towards them and you tell them their issues don't count. This is why Jess Phillips gets people tweeting, Jess, you're a fucking idiot. I wouldn't even rape you.
I was kind of wondering if she would go to the police against you for that.
Oh no, she did an interview with Victoria Live and a TV program here, and she asked her, so all of these terrible things, have you gone to the police? And she's like, actually no, I haven't. And it was like, there we go. There we go, you haven't, because this is nothing. This is nothing at all, and you're using it just to get yourself on TV and complain about your own little problems, but this is nothing at all, and this is just go away. Go away.
Yeah. But you weren't nervous at all, or?
No, I wasn't, because it's not a threat.
Yeah,
it's simply not a threat. It's an incredibly rude thing.
It's an anti-threat.
It's not even a threat. It's a threat of non-action. I mean, don't get me wrong. It's rude. It's childish. It's petty. It's all of these things, and that's absolutely true. But it was done. It was done to prove a point. They're going to interpret it as if it's a threat, regardless, and it can't be interpreted as a threat.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah. I think it was beautiful that you managed to get her to go on TV about it.
yeah, got it in all the papers and everything. It was fantastic. This is what I mean. You can have an effect. You just have to know what the right thing is to do. Now, I don't suggest that people be a dick like I'm a dick.
Right.
I definitely don't suggest they do that. But sensible, polite, emails to politicians with a genuine issue. There's no reason that they'd have
Yeah,
to
obviously, if
not
you just
respond.
send an email with "you're an asshole," that
Yeah, don't send them a Harambe meme or something,
no,
because they're not going to understand what you're doing. They're going to think, "Well, Jesus, the internet's for some reason picking on me."
yeah, I mean, they're just their assistants probably just gonna put that in the trash. They're not even gonna hear about it.
Exactly. Yeah.
So
But yeah,
that doesn't
send
work.
with your real name. Your real name, and if you live locally, so I mean, a lot of them. I did this a few years ago. I emailed. I was working for a research council, and I emailed my local MP, Justin Tomlinson, who
Hmm.
was in favour of the workfare scheme, which over here was basically if you're unemployed for a certain amount of time, then the government will send you to work with a private company, but not be paid as if you're working for the company. You'll be paid your job seekers allowance, which is a pittance.
Okay.
And literally, there were examples of people who were fired from their jobs. They went to the job center, and the job center would end up sending them back to the very job they had just been fired from to work for their job seekers allowance from this company. It's like,
Of course. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, that is exactly why that is a terrible solution. And I emailed up my MP about it, and he responded because I think they feel, I mean, at least in Britain, they feel obliged. Your local MPs or whoever represents you, I think they feel obliged. I mean, you're not going to get a response from Hillary, but you'll get a response from someone who, won by like 2,000 votes or something.
Mhm.
In the local civic elections or something like this. You'll get a response from them, and that's the first step. That's how these things get
And
escalated.
yeah, and like we were saying, if they get like 1,000 mails, then obviously that's going to be more of a yeah. The assistant's probably going to mention that to the boss instead of just one showing up.
Yeah, exactly. It's going to be raised. It's going to go further. And if multiple politicians are like, God, this is something that came up for me too. It becomes part of the zeitgeist. It becomes part of the dialogue
Hmm.
surrounding these issues. So I think that's the way forward. I think if we want to actually change anything, or just, I mean, we could just continue screaming into the internet forever. I mean, it's people are probably still going to watch because these problems would just get worse. So,
Right, right. Well, I
but
mean that has its charm in itself, but
yeah,
why not do both?
well, yeah, that's the thing. I mean, I think it's going to be a difficult fight because as soon as they realize that we're doing something, they're going to attack us. But that's
Mhm.
fine as well because then that just brings extra awareness, and there will be people who will be exposed to the idea that perhaps locking people up for a tweet is just silly and wrong, and it's gone too far. I
Yeah,
appreciate the
how is that
lots
even
of time.
legal?
I don't know. I honestly don't know. They brought in some sort of hate speech laws a few years ago. I'm actually not like massively familiar. I need to go through them and see exactly what's what. Because I don't really do anything that is I don't threaten people. I'm not openly racist towards people or anything like that. So I don't really know what the criteria are, but
Hmm.
it just seems silly stuff. Just seems for every time I've seen it, it's some guy who's just said something dumb, and it's just come on.
Yeah, yeah, like the Canadian guy.
Yeah, yeah, like
So
exactly
they
that.
obviously have something similar over there.
Yeah, they do. They do. They've got something worse. In fact, the Canadian Human Rights Courts, which are just kangaroo courts in favor of social justice, basically.
Yeah.
There's it's not a legitimate thing, but it does have legitimate power, and that's worrying to me. Arch Warhammer did a very good video on this. I'll tweet it out actually because it is honestly it's terrifying. He spent I talked to him on Skype and we're mates and stuff, and I was
Hmm.
talking to him about it as he was going through it, and he was just describing to me. I was like, Jesus Christ, this is like some sort of Orwellian horror show.
Right.
Right? You don't get a judge. You don't get this. It's all sorry. You do get a judge. You don't get a jury, and so it's the judge's word is final. And the judge, I'm not making this up. They can choose to dismiss evidence if they want.
Okay.
They can just say, no, I know that you're presenting this as
Or
evidence, but I simply dismiss it because I don't like it.
Jesus Christ!
Make
But this case that was so much in the media and everything, um, didn't that have some sort of set some sort of precedent or something?
Sorry, say it again.
Didn't that set any precedent that that case that got dismissed with the famous Canadian case?
I can't think of it off the top of my head.
No, the one we were talking about, the guy in Canada, he got his case got
Gregory Allen
dismissed, right?
Elliott. Yeah, Greg. Yeah, because we had to raise lots of money for his lawyers.
Right.
But yeah, it didn't get dismissed. He won it.
Yeah. Okay. So
so
yeah,
it
he
wasn't
won.
dismissed.
So doesn't that make a legal precedent, or whatever they call it?
I think it does. I think it does, and I think that if Canadians were to en masse start emailing their politicians about the fact that these human rights courts, not only do they exist, but we've got a great example in Gregory Allen Elliott of how these things can be abused. I mean, I don't know the full in and out of it, but basically, I believe him when he says he spent the last 3 years basically researching the Toronto political scene, because it is a scene, and there are feminists involved in it, and they end up getting networks of connections where they are ideologically and financially and just personally invested in each other. And this, in his mind, in his opinion, and I think he's right when he says this, has been part of some kind of conspiracy, between a bunch of feminists and feminist sympathizing politicians.
Right. Yeah, Karen Strawn did an excellent video on this case. You saw that one?
I haven't seen that one, actually. I'll have to check it out after this. But I mean, there is definitely a case to be made, and I think a very solid one, using Gregory Allen Elliott's experiences. And I can't believe how unjust the experience was to Gregory Allen Elliott. I was just so pleased to be able to raise money for this guy, to fight in his corner. Because holy shit, if someone said, right, you're being accused of something, you're not allowed to use the internet for the next 3 years, I'd be like,
that is fucking unbelievable. In this day and age, how can you even survive? How can you pay your bills?
Exactly. It's tyrannical. It's absurd. It's like saying, right, well, this person has accused you of going over the speed limit. Do you have any proof? No. We're going to take 3 years to investigate. But in the meantime, you're not allowed to drive.
Yeah. Pretty much the same thing.
Exactly. You'd be like, well, yeah, but this isn't true. You haven't proven it. And you're punishing me anyway. It's totally unjust.
Yeah, he really did get punished, and then he was found innocent. So that's fucking ass backwards.
Yeah, I wonder if he's suing them or getting any kind of reparations.
I hope so. Reparations.
Yeah,
huh?
I love using that word. Black Hitler has really made it for me.
Yeah,
reparations.
I can't hear that word without picturing him.
I know. It's brilliant, isn't it?
No, I don't know how the Canadian system works, if they even have that kind of reparations, or if it's
honestly, I don't know. But the thing with the human rights courts, that is definitely something Canadian citizens, if a few thousand of them were to just email a few dozen politicians, then that would become an issue in Canada that would be discussed in the Canadian Parliament. I guarantee it.
Yeah. I mean, they must have some sort of petition thing as well that you can send in. This has to be discussed in Parliament or something, right?
Yeah, if you get 100,000 signatures on a petition in Britain, the Parliament has to at least discuss it and acknowledge it.
Exactly.
You don't have to agree with it or anything like that, but it at least has to be acknowledged.
Yeah.
So, I mean, there are ways for people, grassroots activists, like, and this is what drove me crazy about Libertarian Socialist Rants. I was like, look, we are grassroots activists, and he laughed at the idea. It's like, what the hell do you think we are? Do you think we're like corporate overlords or something? Jesus Christ, we're just people on YouTube. We're not. Yeah. We don't have any positions of power or anything like this. We're just people who are dissatisfied with the way things are going, and we have every right to organize and act and do activism to get the things that we want put in place, like everyone else does.
Yeah, but don't you know that grassroots activism is only for Marxists?
Well, Marxists are anarchists.
Yeah.
I
guess they just laugh at the idea of people who are not. I don't know what do we call that group if you sort of put feminists and environmentalists and
that's the important thing, isn't it? Because a lot of the time, and people have got to remember that politicians are only human too.
Mm-hmm.
they need to group things. It's so much easier for them to understand things if they can give it a label. Again, this is why I think the alt-right is doing so well. Now, as soon as they agreed on a label they were happy with, boom, now Hillary Clinton is fucking promoting them like a dummy. If Hillary Clinton says it's bad, my natural instinct is to be like, they're also not that bad. I don't think the alt-right are the worst of the worst either. They're not. They're not my sort of thing, but they're not the worst. There are definitely worse people out there. So when Hillary says it,
yeah, that is some marketing.
And then you see the alt-right and they got Harambe memes. You think, okay, all right, they're not so bad. I can see why people would be attracted to her.
Yeah,
but having a name for your group is definitely helpful.
And I don't really know what to call that whole group on the left there that are really extreme, and because I don't know, it seems that they have a lot in common. All the vegans and the feminists and the super environmentalists and
I think progressives is probably
progressive. Yeah, that's probably what
that. SJW is pejorative, so you can't really use that if you're going to approach a politician.
No, and probably outside of YouTube, people probably don't even know what it is.
I actually think they do now. I think that the term has made its way into the public dialogue, but it's not the sort of thing a politician is going to respond to well. I think if you were to present it in a slightly more respectable way, I think they'd respond a lot better. But honestly, I like for the people like the libertarian right and left, we need something that doesn't imply ANCAP.
Right.
That's what we need, because what the problem with saying libertarian is, and the libertarians themselves are at the fault for this. Sorry, guys, it's the demonization of the state. And you see it with every ideological position. I have trouble not doing it with collectivists. I really have to work hard, not just go, you're all collectivists. I know sometimes I do, but I do genuinely try not to, because it's not very useful, and it's just dismissing people you don't even know what their real opinions are based on their affiliations. And T was, I love T, but he was doing it a lot in the Hangout last night. And I talked to him.
What was it about? I haven't seen it yet.
Oh, well, we were basically talking about just kind of like this sort of stuff, really. Just this sort of what can we do? And I read the idea of emailing the politicians is something I was talking about in this stream then. We could, and stuff like that. But we need a label that we define for ourselves. That's the trick. The alt-right took that. They chose their label. The feminists chose their label. It doesn't. We need to choose our own label for the people who are sort of, again, I guess I don't want to say centrist, because that sounds, it's got too much connotation to it itself. Right?
Yeah. Because obviously, if you and I can come together and agree on things, then left or right isn't really the point here. So center doesn't make any sense either. Then
exactly. We putting ourselves. I mean, this is the feminists. They didn't put themselves on the political compass. Feminism has found itself a place on the political compass, but it, in and of itself, is not necessarily partisan. I mean, you get right-wing people who say that they're feminists. And the left-wing feminists hate it. When Sarah Palin said she's a feminist, and the feminists on the left were just like, that's
What about your PM?
Yeah, she's a feminist. She claims to be a feminist. She's not an SJW, but she claims to be a feminist. And this is the thing. I mean, I quite like the term skeptic. I do. I think it does have good connotations, and it just means skeptical of people pushing claims on you. People suggest something, you go, okay, well, let's analyze it. And it doesn't even mean you disbelieve everything you hear. It just means you fact check everything you hear.
Right.
And I think that's a very laudable thing to do. And I don't mind it as a label. I really don't mind it as a label. If I had to label myself as something, I really wouldn't be ashamed of using that as my label. If we were right, the skeptics want this. The skeptics want free speech. The skeptics want equal rights. The skeptics want egalitarianism. And God, I'm so sick of people deliberately, willfully misinterpreting the term egalitarianism. You mean you force everyone to be the same? No, you fucking deliberate ninny. Would you stop?
Everyone's misusing that word. So
oh my God, it just means we don't want the government to discriminate on arbitrary characteristics. That's it.
Yeah.
That's it. We just want the government to treat each citizen with the same respect.
Now, feminism is muddying the water by bringing in the equality of what do I call it now? Fuck. Um, Equality of outcome, obviously. So now they say that's egalitarianism. Like, fuck off.
No, that's not egalitarianism.
Yeah.
We're really talking about rights. You know, everyone should have the same rights under the law. That's what we're talking about when we say that. Other people can mean whatever they want, but that's what we mean when we say it. You know.
Yeah.
And
so, yeah, but
yeah, and, I mean
that word has a lot of baggage, so it's not good. But skeptic is better, obviously.
Yeah, and we can just specify exactly what we mean. And so when people ask, we can just tell them exactly what we mean. And if someone's like, yeah, but this means this, is like, okay, well then choose a different word. I don't care whatever word we use to mean equality under the law. I simply don't care what word you want to use.
No.
Just that's the concept. And if you're getting hung up on the word rather than the definition, then that's the issue. You know, it's not. It doesn't matter what the word is.
That doesn't matter. But it's an interesting point that just to have some sort of label, doesn't matter what, it carries certain power.
It does. It genuinely does, and
maybe that's why they're so obsessed with labels.
Yeah, absolutely. They are totally obsessed with labels because they carry power, and it's a power you can take to yourself if you say, you know what, and this is exactly the alt-right have done exactly this. They've just taken on this power by saying, yeah, this is me. Boom. You know, the label can be nebulous. It can be, what's a skeptic? Well, it can be a lot of things. You know, right. But we're all skeptics, and we all agree on this point. So, you know, you're dealing with a lot of people and stuff like this, and it doesn't have to be skeptic. That's just the only word I can think of that I'm not bothered by. You know, any other word, I'm just kind of like...
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't matter. We're not going to start a new movement here today, but maybe people can think about that and start... I mean, that's a good thing with crowdsourcing. Someone's going to have a brilliant suggestion.
Yeah. You know, I mean, someone on Twitter is tweeting me, I don't like the term skeptic. It seems overly negative, not representative of positive perceptions. It's like, well, honestly, that's because we're not the ones using it. You know, if we were the ones using it, we would define it by our actions and literally by our actions. So what do the skeptics do? Well, they're basically critiquing ideas. It's really horrible. They make me feel fucking silly because I have silly ideas. And then they're like, no, what we need is freedom of speech or freedom of expression or less censorship and all this sort of thing. People, if people see you advocating and, you know, campaigning for free speech, free expression, that's how you'll come to be known, regardless of what the other people actually say about you. You know, actions do speak louder than words. So I genuinely think that we should stop being so afraid. I mean, they're doing it anyway. They call us every name under the sun anyway. Let's just, you know, we could call ourselves something. We could push forward and we could actually get some change.
That's interesting. They call us everything. I think you brought that up in a video like maybe 2 weeks ago or something. Like, people are just not really that afraid to be called a racist anymore or shit like that, or misogynist, because they've just wolf cried it to death.
Yeah, they have. I mean, this is the power of the alt-right. They are literally saying we don't care. And that's very appealing to people who aren't necessarily part of the alt-right, but who are tired of being called a racist when they're not a racist. Yeah.
Obviously, I mean, they just use it for everything, and misogynist and racist and sexist. You can be accused of that for fucking breathing. Yeah,
yeah, literally by existing. You're a white man that exists, therefore you must be oppressing black people. Therefore, you are a racist. And it's like, well, if that's the case, then don't talk to me about racism because it's something inherent to my nature and my being, and I can't change that. So shut up and fuck off.
Yeah, it's completely nonsensical.
Yeah, you've just screwed the idea of racism by determining that it's something inalienable from me. I'm not going to change it if it's inalienable. I can't do it. You know, if by very just existing, I can't change it, then fuck off.
Yeah, that is racist by itself.
Yeah, and in itself, it is a racist thing to say. So, yeah, it's silly. It's just silly.
Yeah, so I totally understand that people are tired of being called racist because, yeah, it doesn't mean anything anymore.
Oh, man, it's got so much power in this country. It's got so much power.
I mean, we're not over that, and there's certainly a point or a place for it. You know, if someone is a raving racist and whatever.
Absolutely. If someone genuinely is being actually racist, then sure, that's an issue, you know?
Yeah.
I keep saying, you know, I'm so sorry, everyone. But in this country, it's got way too much power. There are not that many racists in this country, right? And there are so many so many times where, I mean, every like, literally, I think it's been about 7 or 8 British cities now where they've had large Muslim minorities. These Muslim minorities have produced Muslim gangs who are just, they are just persecuting people who are non-Muslim. They don't care whether they're black or they're white or they're, you know, Chinese or whatever. They just care that they're kuffars. And they have no respect for the kuffar women because they're kuffar women.
What does kuffar mean anyhow?
It basically means infidel.
Okay.
It just means non-Muslim.
Oh, okay.
And the kuffar women aren't worthy of respect because they dress like whores, they don't cover themselves up, and they're not modest like a good Muslim woman. And so it's okay to do bad things to these women because they're just whores, they're sluts, you know, that you don't have to respect them. And so they don't have any respect for these sort of like white teenage girls who are vulnerable. You know, often they don't have, you know, a nuclear family, and they are not well protected. The authorities don't protect them. The authorities protect the Muslims for fear of being called racist if they don't. And this happens in the prisons, this happens in cities, this happens in the police, this happens in lower class communities, this happens everywhere. It's the most insane. I can't believe the word racist has such power. I mean, like, yesterday it was that Monday Matt put up a video about a young girl who was afraid of being called a racist, and so she hung herself.
Jesus Christ.
I'm not making it up. I know it sounds crazy. I was talking to V about this a while ago, and he was like, mate, I don't believe you. I don't believe you. It's like, I know, it's because you don't live it. You don't live it. You don't know how afraid people are of being called a racist. And this is, I talk to I've got, like, you know, liberal middle class friends on Facebook, and I talk to them about Islam, and they know I'm not a racist because they've known me for years and years and years, donkey's years, you know, decades sometimes. They know I'm not a racist. Right. So when I start talking to them about Islam and how the ideas produce and sort of, not just facilitate, I was going to say facilitate, but genuinely produce the in-group, out-group dichotomy that makes it morally acceptable to do bad things to innocent people, they know I'm not being a racist, and so they can't bring themselves to call me a racist, but I can tell the undertone of what they're saying. They can tell they're just like, God, I just want to call him a racist. You can tell they're angry. It really angers them when I'm talking to them about this. And I'm like, look, if these were white people and they were doing these things, would you think it was racist to address these problems? And obviously, no. But as soon as you start talking about people who are non-white doing these very same things, the anti-racist thing to do would be to treat them as if you would treat a white person doing these things. And if it was a white person, a white gang of white guys who were grooming whatever kind of young girls, you know, raping them, drugging them, giving them alcohol, all sorts of 12, 13-year-old girls, my God, these fucks would be in prison so fast their feet wouldn't touch the ground. They would be crucified in the mainstream media. They would be, you know, just nailed to the fucking wall. And instead, the police are like, well, I'm not going to touch him just in case I'm a racist.
But that's pretty much the same problem we have with the Black Lives Matter stuff in the U.S., making the cops too afraid to do anything. They treat everyone who's black with fucking kid gloves and everything. Jesus.
You know, you wouldn't do it to a white person. Why are you doing it to a black person?
Yeah,
because
that's not equality.
Secretly, you're a bit of a soft bigotry of low expectations. Well, they're black. How could they be expected to know any different? They're Muslim. How could they be expected to know any different? It's like, well, I'm afraid I don't treat them. I don't make distinction based on race in that way. So if it doesn't matter what their race is to me, if they're acting in this way, I expect them to know different.
Yeah, that doesn't have anything to do with the police. They're just supposed to be in the, you know, illegal legal business.
Exactly.
Nothing else.
Exactly. Why are you even bringing race into consideration when you're looking at a person's actions?
Yeah. That doesn't work. You're not supposed to care about that. You're not supposed to take that in consideration at all.
Exactly. If you're factoring that in, then it's obvious that it's going to become an issue. You know, it's going to inform people's decisions for good or bad. And I don't want race to be something that informs some decision, because race doesn't actually tell you anything about an individual.
No,
you know, it tells you something about a demographic. But it doesn't actually tell you about any of the characteristics.
It gives you a certain statistical probabilities. That's all.
Well, exactly. That's exactly it. And you can't judge individuals based on statistical probability.
No.
I mean, that's exactly what people are complaining about. Like, not all men, hashtag not all men, or, you know, teach men not to rape. It's like the statistical probability of a man raping you is insanely low. Why are you treating me like I'm going to rape you? Because I know I'm not. You don't know me. You know, you don't know anything about me, and yet you're treating me as if I might rape you.
Right. No,
Just on the basis of the fact that some other people do that, and that's bigotry.
yeah, but that's obviously not sexist.
Oh yeah, of course. Well, I mean, women can't be sexist, thank God.
Oh no, women can't be sexist. White people can't be racist. What else?
Oh God, everything. Cis people, trans people can't be. I don't know what transphobic or cisphobic or whatever.
Cisphobic, is that a word?
Probably not, but we should invent it.
Yeah, I mean, if there's transphobic, then there should be the opposite, obviously.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, a woman can be sexist, obviously, so there should be something a trans person could be to a cis person.
Well, I mean, in principle, of course, they could be bigoted on them against the fact that they're not transsexual.
Yeah. So I guess that would be cisphobia or something.
I don't know what. I'm sure they've made up a word for it and then declared.
Of course. They just don't use it because that doesn't fit their narrative.
Exactly. If they use it, then they screw themselves. But,
yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, I don't know whether there's anything else you want to go over or anything, but
no, I think we've had a very interesting stream, and maybe we should leave them wanting more.
I think that's a good idea.
Yeah. So I guess we'll just thank everyone for showing up, and thank you, Sargon, for showing up. And
my pleasure, my friend.
We'll see you next time.
Take care, everyone.
Take care.